from the top of this. Slightly different format. We're moving away from the slideshows for now. I'm going to try to work on this. We'll see what's better, but the hope is that you get the information either way. All right, so data analysis and probability. So what we're looking at is, first of all, data analysis. And with data analysis, it's collecting information, presenting it, and then kind of looking at it and noticing trends and patterns and stuff like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we gather data, first with questionnaires and then second with experiments. So as you can kind of see, I hope this works. And just moving. Right, as you can see, there are, you don't need to see that. There are two, so this is where you need to fill in the blanks. Right, so this is what as I write this in, you're going to type this in yourself. Right, so there are two main ways to collect information or data. Data, which is just numbers and information. Right, you can use a questionnaire or you can conduct an experiment. Right, so you can use a questionnaire or you can conduct an experiment. All right, and so that's what we're going to talk about first. Is the first one is a questionnaire. All right, a questionnaire is a survey that collects answers to a particular question. Okay, so you're gathering information, and it is an important way to help people make a decision about the topics of interest. And the first thing that you need to do is you need to create the question. There are 3 guidelines to follow for when you're writing your questions for your questionnaires. All right, first what they need to be, the first thing need to be understood and specific. All right, understood and specific. So let's look at this example of a question. Do you watch a lot of Netflix? So this question isn't actually a good question for a questionnaire. The reason why that is the word a lot. A lot, we might use it, well, a lot, but it actually doesn't really quantify it. Right? There's no number. A lot to you might be very different than a lot to me. All right, so you can't really answer that as a yes or no. You need this question to be, oh, that went not where I wanted it to go. This might be a problem. Hopefully not. So let's try this again. You want this to be more precise and more specific. All right? So what we have to do is we need to add to this question so that it's not very general, like using words like a lot. And so we can do that by writing it something like this. So instead of saying, do you watch a lot of Netflix, you can say, how many hours do you watch Netflix in 1 week? All right, so it gives them now a time frame of 1 week. You're asking for hours specifically, right? And it really helps to kind of make it more specific so the answers are exactly what you're kind of looking for. So that's the first one on how to write questions. All right, make sure the questions are understood by all people. Number 2, each person surveyed should be able to find an answer he or she would choose. Now once again, let's look at this responses. This question. So what is your favorite sport to watch on TV? Oftentimes you will give in your questionnaire, all right, you will give them a couple suggestions that they get to pick from. It's a lot easier. It helps the whole process go around. All right? And so some people might be looking at that and they might say, well, I don't really watch any of these sports. Right? And so what you need to do is you need to provide other options. Right? You need to provide other options. So maybe you make a thing for soccer, right? Or as you guys call it, football, right? Maybe you create one for wrestling. Maybe somebody says something that you don't have, so you're going to create an other category. So if I give you this questionnaire, because remember a questionnaire is you go around and you ask people actual questions. And then if you're saying, what is your favorite sport to watch on TV? And someone says table tennis, but you don't have it, then that's when you would put it in the other category. Or, as I'm finding out with my questions for attendance, some of you don't have an opinion on a lot of things. So maybe, oh, man, technology sometimes is not old Mr. Callen's friend. Did it twice, trying to edit. Or you can fill it in and write none. Sorry, that was a lot more painful than it should be. So again, you need to have other options in order for everyone to kind of successfully answer this. Usually we do that by including those last two. Right? By having other and none, we kind of summarize all the other choices. We might pick the top 3 that we think will be answered: hockey, basketball, soccer, and then you add other, and then you can add none. The question should also be, another guideline, the question should also be, trying to get my highlighter, fair and not biased. Right? A biased question is one that will influence an answer. Okay, it will influence an answer. What that means is, let's look at these. Let's look at this example. Actually, that's what we'll do. So here we have 2 questions. Different questions for a questionnaire. 1 and 2. Okay, the first one is PE has been found to benefit mental and physical health of kids. How often should we have PE in a week? All right, so that's the questionnaire versus how many times a week should we have PE, or phys ed class, right, PE. So which one of these do you think influences an answer? Now you may not be sure, but the one that influences an answer is actually this first one. Okay, because what you're saying is PE has been found to benefit mental and physical health. And we're using the words like how often should we have it. So when we use words like benefit and often in our question, it's already making it sound like PE is beneficial. So we need, obviously, so we need to have it. So someone might disagree with us and say we need less of it. All you boys are probably shaking your heads saying, no, we need more, Mr. Callum, right? Maybe some of the boys, though, because I don't want to speak for all the boys, might disagree and say we actually want less. But when we say how often should we have it, we're making it sound like it should be had. A better question, so this one, sorry, I'm just going to erase this little star. So this first one is not a great question. I'm going to put an X beside it. The second one, though, is a good question because instead it says, how many times a week should we have PE class? Okay, so that now opens it up for a lot more. It's not biased because it says many instead of often. You could disagree. You could say not at all. Actually, you could even go even farther and add choices to it. Or you could say maybe never. You could say maybe once a week. Maybe you even wanted to keep adding, go twice, 3 times, 4 times, etc. Right? You make sure you remember you want to have as many options as you can provide in your questionnaire. Once you collect your data, let's go to this top. Right? Once you create your question, we talked about it, then you're going to ask your question. What that means is you go around to as many people you can that you're trying to create a survey for, right? And you're going to ask them this question. Then you're going to tally the results. If you're not sure what tally means or you need help, you can click on this hyperlink. All right? After you tally them up, you're going to present the results. There are 3 different ways that we really can present a result. The first one is tables. So as you can see here, someone did a survey on what is your favorite colors in your class, and then they added it up and they presented it with this chart, and they all have these nice little headings. Okay, these are nice little headings here. Yellow, red, blue, green, pink, so on. All right, you can also do it with graphs. Now you can't really see, but if you expand these images, you're going to notice that they all have titles, and we'll talk about this next class. Right, but they have titles and they have labels on their graphs. We've already talked about a little bit about graphing. You need to do the same. So these are 4 different types of graphing. The first one that you see, right, that is called a line graph. Okay, this is a line graph. This shows something continuous, right? So all these points are supposed to be connected. So for instance, it's like how much rain is there in Abu Dhabi in a month? You can track every single day because the amount of rain is actually continuous. Either it can be 0, but you can actually track through it. Whereas the next type of graph, which is a bar graph, I'm just trying to copy this and paste it, sorry. A bar graph, right, this shows something that is often going to be a little bit more separate. So like the idea of colors, right, colors aren't going to be continuous. You can measure rain, and that's why we use a line graph. You can't measure colors. So they're very separate, so they're very unique things. You can also use a pie chart. Pie charts, often we use that when we're trying to get the percentage of something. Okay, so we use a pie chart when we're trying to find the percentage. And then there are scatter plots. Sorry, they're not, or dot plots, right? And we use this also, they're very similar to bar graphs. These are different graphs that we can use as well. The last thing that we use, it's called tally marks. So if you see it right here, I'll try to actually open this up so you can actually see the tally marks. As you can see, right, they have these little lines. We put them in groups of 5. You've probably done this before. And then we just kind of tally it. All right? So how many? So if I went around to the class and I said how many people like blue, and 6 people raise their hands, I do a little tally, and at the end I put a little number. Okay, so those are the different ways we can represent the data that we find. So that is collecting data, gathering data with a questionnaire. All right. Now what we're going to talk about is part B, conducting experiments to gather data. So the first one that we talked about is just going around and asking and talking to people. This one is where you actually conduct an experiment, because sometimes you cannot collect data through just surveys and questions. Sometimes you actually have to do an experiment. And a lot of your assignment today is going to be around those experiments. So for example, if you want to know the outcome that is most likely to occur when you flip a coin 10 times, right, what's going to happen more likely, heads or tails, you actually have to do an experiment. So let's do that really quickly. I just need to grab my online coin. This is my online coin. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to flip. So I'm going to click, and it's going to be tails. So you're going to grab your pen. So that was flip number 1, and I'm going to put a little X where the tail was. Okay, so then we just keep doing this. The next one is also tails. Flip number 2. Now this would be crazy, right? If all of them became tails. Now look at this. Who needs sports when you can watch this exciting game of heads and tails? Whoa, broke the streak there. Alright, so I don't know if your team heads. Everyone pick which one you think is going to get more. What do you think is going to get more? I'm going to go for heads. I think heads maybe. Okay, heads again. Oh, heads are getting a comeback. Alright, so right now, with 5 flips, we have 3 tails and 2 heads. Alright, so again, we want to know which one outcome is going to be more likely. So right now, you should have predicted something. We can even pause this. Right? Do you think it's going to be heads or tails? So that's what your prediction is. Now we're doing an experiment to collect the data. This is very important for science class coming up, starting next year. Alright, we got another tails. I don't know if I was a little too fast for that, but we got tails. Alright, we got tails again on our 7th only. We're doing 10 flips, right? So if you predicted that heads are going to be the one, you might have predicted wrong. That's what I did. Remember, it's called the underdog, the one that's probably not going to get it. Alright, so right now we have 5 and we have 3. That means in order for this to tie, we need all of these to be heads. And it's over. It's over, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see. Tails won the game, but we'll see by how much more. Alright, and the last one is heads, just to rub salt in my wound. Okay, so now we're going to add them up. Alright, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 tails and 4 heads. Alright, so it's 4 to 6. Look at this ratio. Alright, bringing stuff in from other units. So what we did is we had an experiment. Alright, we made a prediction, heads or tails. I said it was going to be heads. Right? Tails, though, was the winner. And now we know what the information is. We gathered it on this chart. We recorded it on the table. The thing that's important for this lesson, just gotta move this over. For this lesson, is that regardless of what method you're using, right? Even if you're doing the questionnaire or the experiment, right? You need to record your data on a table or a chart. So if I ask you, let's move down, right? So for this one, you're going to click on this website and roll 2 dice, right? You're going to have to record it on a chart, record the results. Okay? So this is your daily assignment. There are a handful of experiments and questions to answer. All right, I know this is optional. That is really only optional if you're not doing the unit final. I suggest you all do the unit final to boost your mark, but if not, you have 4 questions to practice for this topic. Little short topic. Hope you had a good time watching that heads and tails game. See you guys.